The rhythmic tap-tap-tap of a white cane against cold concrete echoed through the Canine Rehabilitation Center, a sound that usually signaled vulnerability, but here it announced the arrival of someone who had stopped caring about safety protocols months ago. Sarah Jenkins couldn't see the warning signs plastered across the kennel bars, or the danger authorized personnel only notices glowing red in the dim corridor. She only heard the silence of a dog that everyone else called a monster. "I'm not looking for a dog that follows commands," she told the handlers, whose voices had gone tight with fear. "I'm looking for the one who knows what it's like to be left in the dark." As she stopped before the most dangerous cage in the facility, the air turned electric. What happened next would shatter every rule in the book. The air inside the Canine Rehabilitation Center smelled like disinfectant and desperation, two things Sarah Jenkins had become intimately familiar with since the collapse. Her white cane swept across the polished concrete in practiced arcs, mapping a world she could no longer see, but had learned to read through sound and vibration. "We have several excellent candidates," the handler was saying, her voice carrying that particular brightness people used when they thought you were fragile. "Bella is a 3-year-old Labrador, very gentle. Or there's Max, he's been through advanced obedience training." Sarah stopped walking. Around her, she could hear the soft panting of dogs behind chain link, the occasional whine, the shuffle of paws on concrete. These were the success stories, the rehabilitated animals ready to guide someone through grocery stores and crosswalks. Perfect, obedient, safe. Everything she wasn't looking for. "They sound lovely," Sarah said, her tone flat enough to cut glass. She'd spent 6 months as a paramedic pulling people from burning buildings and crushed vehicles. She'd lost her sight saving a family of 4 from a structural collapse that should have killed her, too. She didn't need lovely. She needed something that understood that survival wasn't about following the rules. It was about breaking through them when the world went dark. The handler cleared her throat. "Perhaps if you tell me more about your daily routine, I can make a better match?" Then Sarah heard it, a sound that made every other dog in the facility go silent. Not a bark, a roar, deep and primal, and so full of rage that it seemed to vibrate through the concrete itself, traveling up through her cane and into her bones. "What was that?" Sarah asked quietly. The handler's hand landed on Sarah's arm, a touch meant to redirect, to protect, to control. Sarah shook it off. "That's nothing you need to concern yourself with," the woman said, her bright tone fracturing at the edges. "Just one of our long-term cases, not suitable for placement." The roar came again, closer now, though Sarah hadn't moved. No, she had moved. Her feet had carried her toward the sound while the handler was still forming excuses. The vibration was stronger here, rattling through the floor like thunder trapped underground. "Ma'am, please, that area is restricted." Sarah's cane found a wall, then a corner, then the cold metal of a different kind of fence. Heavier gauge, reinforced, the kind of barrier that wasn't meant to keep a dog in, it was meant to keep everyone else out. "Who is he?" Sarah asked. A pause, then resigned. "Coda, German Shepherd, retired police canine." "Why is he isolated?" "Because he's dangerous." The handler's voice had lost all its practiced gentleness. His handler was Officer Michael Reeves. He was killed 18 months ago responding to an armed robbery. The suspects opened fire. Reeves went down. Coda stayed with the body for 6 hours before backup arrived. Sarah's hand tightened on her cane. When officers tried to approach, Coda attacked. Not out of training, out of grief. He put 2 men in the hospital. Halverson paused. "The incident happened at the Riverside Medical Complex." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. Riverside, the same structural collapse that had buried her under concrete and steel. The same day she'd heard the gunshots echo through the parking garage while she was triaging victims in the lobby. The same day Officer Reeves had been trying to secure the perimeter when the suspects ran. She'd heard the canine barking that day, heard it turn into something inhuman when the shots rang out. "You were there," Sarah said quietly. "We pulled Reeves' personnel file when you submitted your application. You were the paramedic who requested backup." Halverson's voice softened, just barely. "You both lost your partners that day, Miss Jenkins, but shared trauma doesn't make you compatible, it makes you combustible." Behind the reinforced fence, Coda's breathing had changed, no longer heavy with rage. Now it was the broken rhythm of something that recognized its own reflection. Sarah's hand moved toward the bars before anyone could stop her. "Don't!" Halverson's warning died in her throat. The space between Sarah's fingertips and the metal felt charged, like touching a live wire. Behind the fence, Coda had gone utterly still. No growling, no snarling, just the sound of claws scraping concrete as 90 pounds of muscle and trauma shifted forward. Every person in the corridor held their breath. Sarah's fingers found the cold mesh. On the other side, something wet and warm pressed against her knuckles. Not teeth, a nose. Then the gentlest pressure, a sniff that traveled up her hand to her wrist, reading her the way she read the world. Through sound, through sensation, through the language of things that couldn't be seen. Coda made a sound Sarah had never heard from a dog before. Not a whine, not a whimper. A recognition. The handler behind her whispered, "That's impossible." Director Halverson's office smelled like old coffee and bureaucratic finality. Sarah sat across from a desk she couldn't see, but she could feel the weight of the decision hanging in the air between them. "What you did today was reckless," Halverson said. "Coda has been deemed unplaceable by 3 separate behavioral specialists. He's a liability, a lawsuit waiting to happen. He didn't bite me. This time." Papers rustled, files being opened, evidence being presented. "Miss Jenkins, I understand what you've been through. I respect your service as a paramedic, but this facility has protocols for a reason. Coda isn't a service animal. He's a weapon with PTSD." Sarah leaned forward. "So am I." The silence that followed was sharp enough to draw blood. "You're asking me to risk your life," Halverson continued, her voice strained. "If something happens, if he snaps during a training session, if he mistakes your cane for a threat, I'm responsible. The facility is responsible, and Coda gets euthanized." There it was, the real fear. Not Sarah's safety, the dog's death sentence. "How long does he have?" Sarah asked. Another pause, longer this time. "A transport is scheduled for next week. High-security animal sanctuary in Montana. 24-hour isolation. No human contact." Halverson's chair creaked as she stood. "It's the best option we have left." "It's not an option. It's a cage with a view. It's survival, Miss Jenkins, which is more than most dogs in his condition get." Footsteps approached, stopped at the edge of the desk. "I'm sorry, but as of this moment, you're banned from the restricted wing. Security will escort you out if you attempt to access Coda's kennel again." The door opened. The meeting was over. But Sarah wasn't finished. Sarah was 3 blocks away when she smelled smoke. Not the cigarette kind, or the distant wildfire haze that sometimes drifted over the city. This was chemical, electrical, the acrid bite of burning insulation and melting plastic that meant something had gone catastrophically wrong. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Miss Jenkins? This is Officer Chen with Metro Fire. You were at the canine facility today, correct?" Sarah's blood turned to ice. "What happened?" "Electrical fire in the main wing. Started in the breaker room, spread to the ventilation system. We're evacuating now." Background noise, shouting, sirens, the chaos of emergency response that Sarah had once orchestrated from the other side. "The director wanted me to confirm you'd left the premises." "The dogs," Sarah interrupted. "What about the dogs?" "We're getting them out. The main kennels are clear, but..." Chen hesitated, and in that pause Sarah heard everything he wasn't saying. "But what?" The high security wing is on a separate system. The doors won't unlock without power, and the backup generator is not responding. We're working on manual override, but the smoke..." Sarah was already moving, her cane sweeping faster, her internal map of the city recalculating routes. The facility was 12 minutes on foot. The fire department would take at least that long to breach the reinforced doors of the high security wing. She'd seen those doors. They were designed to contain exactly what Halverson feared most, a dangerous animal breaking free. They weren't designed to let one out when the building was burning down around it. Sarah started running. The heat hit Sarah's face before she reached the entrance, a wall of scorching air that turned her skin tight and her lungs cautious. Somewhere in the chaos of shouting firefighters and hissing hoses, someone tried to grab her arm. She kept moving. The main corridor... "There's a dog in the back wing," Sarah shouted over the noise. "We know. We're handling it. You're not fast enough." She pushed past him into the restricted corridor. The smoke was thicker here, turning the darkness she lived in into something suffocating and absolute. Her cane hit debris, fallen ceiling tiles, broken equipment. She climbed over it, her hands reading the wreckage like braille. The reinforced door was exactly where she remembered, still locked, still sealed. Beyond it, she heard nothing. "Coda!" Her voice was raw, barely audible over the roar of flames somewhere above. She slammed her palm against the metal. "Coda, I'm here!" Nothing. Sarah's fingers found the emergency panel beside the door. The screen was dead, the keypad unresponsive, but there was a manual release. She'd felt the handler use it that morning, a lever behind a locked cover. She swung her cane like a bat. The plastic shattered. Her hands found the lever and pulled. The door groaned open, and smoke poured through like a living thing, thick and choking. Sarah stumbled forward, her cane sweeping frantically across concrete until it hit the bars of Coda's kennel. The latch was electronic, dead without power. "Coda!" She ran her hands along the fence, searching for the manual override she knew had to exist. Her fingers found it, a heavy padlock, institutional grade. Firefighters would have bolt cutters. She had nothing but seconds before the ceiling came down. Then she heard it, breathing, close, on her side of the bars. The kennel door was already open. Before Sarah could process what that meant, something massive pressed against her leg. Fur, muscle, the unmistakable weight of a dog that should have run the opposite direction, but had stayed. "Okay," Sarah whispered, her hand finding Coda's head. His ears were flat, his body tense, but he didn't pull away. "Okay, I need you to understand. I can't see the way out. The smoke, I can't tell where the fire is spreading." Coda shifted, pressing harder against her left side. Not random, deliberate. Sarah's hand moved to his harness, the tactical vest he still wore from his police days. Her fingers found the handle. "Show me," she said. Coda moved, not fast but steady. Sarah's cane swept ahead while her other hand gripped the harness, trusting a dog she'd met once to navigate a burning building she couldn't see. He pulled left, then right, guiding her around obstacles she couldn't name. When heat intensified on one side, he shifted their path. When debris blocked their way, he stopped until she climbed over it. The breathing she'd recognized in his kennel now matched her own. Two damaged things moving as one. 6 months later, Sarah stood at the intersection of 5th and Market during Friday rush hour, the kind of urban chaos that used to terrify her in those first months after the collapse. Now it was just noise. Coda sat at her left side, his body a warm constant against her leg. She felt his attention shift as a cyclist blew past too close, felt the slight tension in his muscles as a bus hissed to a stop 10 feet away. But he didn't move, didn't react. He was reading the world for both of them, the way she'd once read trauma scenes for arriving medics. The walk signal chimed. Coda rose, and they stepped off the curb together. A woman's voice called out behind them. "Excuse me, is that Coda?" Sarah turned. Footsteps approached, cautiously. "Officer Chen," Sarah recognized, the cadence. "Metro Fire." "I can't believe..." She stopped, and Sarah heard the catch in her voice. "The director told us he was untrainable, that he'd never make it as a service dog." Sarah's hand dropped to Coda's head, her fingers finding the spot behind his ears that made him lean into her touch. "He's not a service dog. He's a partner." The light changed. The city moved around them, thousands of people going about their lives, unaware that two broken things had found a way to be whole. The thing about trauma, Sarah said, more to herself than to Chen, is that everyone wants to fix it, smooth it over, make it disappear. She felt Coda shift, ready to move when she was ready, but sometimes the cracks are what let the light in. They crossed the street, two warriors who'd walked through fire, still walking.